Hello, everyone. It is March 18, 19, 20, tomorrow. So, hope you're all doing well. Take a deep breath. Cross your legs and say, while shutting your eyes, or maybe you can keep your eyes open. Meditation can ground you. Holy shit. Holy shit. And his mama rages in the house. My last get was from Mama Rages, and what a get it is. So let me just say hello to some of you. Linty London, the 90s, Brooklynite, a Brooklynite. Where in Brooklyn? I lived in Park Slope when the gentrification of the Upper West Side of Manhattan was taking place. And then I went to Park Slope, lived there comfortably for about 6 months, and then the gentrification came to Park Slope. Very expensive. I love seeing New Yorkers. I really do. Thanks for showing up. So, Phil and Alicia and Andrew, hello. Sherry Hughes and L78, hey. You're back with L78. How cool. Nice to see you on L78, which is what I'm familiar with. So, yeah. My familiarity has been, gone. So, I like to see familiar on the internet, in the cyber world. So Sherry and Elle, thank you very much. Laura Larson and Sheepdog Patriot and Tammy DeWitt and Ezra and Stephen Bate and Brenda Rose and Super Painting 62. Hello. Seeking You Shall Find. Barb in Ohio, Patricia White, Stacy Salah. Shalom. Hello. Deacon Blues. For all of you that I mispronounce your names, please have pity on me. Oh my God, am I two playing? My cats never play with one another. Funny that they should start playing right as I start talking to all of you. Step Down, hello. Nice to hear you got a cute little puppy today. Fabulous. And if I've missed anybody, I apologize. Not my intention. Jay Northrup, I saw. Hello. Yeah, Hypocrite's Matrix. Tranquil Vortex. And Tijmen Vandenberg. Carol. I like simple names. Carol. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Michael Wilson and Oracle 11. All right. I just went on radar before hitting go live, and look at these extremely low frequencies blasting away into Ohio, also into Kentucky. Look at all of the nanobot action going on in New Mexico and Arizona particularly, and down here in the Gulf and Texas. And don't you like that V? Those supercomputers, all you have to do is put in the coordinates, and voila, you got the nanobots activated. Very dangerous stuff you're looking at right here. The weapons of mass destruction, for sure. But it goes along with everything that I was talking about last night with this document here that I'm going to post the link in again, the Bibliography of Biological Phenomena, or another word, biological effects of Wi-Fi, radio frequency, very dangerous, whole lot of effects. Biologically, you have been changed, you have been altered. And I missed this last night. I wanted to close with this, but wow, did I have a sudden exhaustion that hit. But isn't this interesting? Surging nervous system disorders, now top cause of illness. Wi-Fi, computer screens. All of this new technology affects our nervous system. And now seems to be the leading cause of illness and death, these disorders of the nervous system. Are you shocked? Conditions affecting the nervous system, such as strokes, migraines, dementia, have surged past heart disease to become the leading cause of ill health worldwide. More than 3.4 billion people, 43% of the global population, experienced a neurological condition in 2021. Well, we also know that they did introduce this new product that a whole lot of people took, and, end of 2020 and 2021, These conditions have soared by 59% in the last 3 decades, mainly driven by the fact that the world's population was aging and growing fast. Wow, that's why? Because the world's population was aging? Mainstream media journalism. Fabulous. Data was used to estimate how many years of healthy life were lost to each condition, called disability adjustment life years. More than 443 million years of healthy life were lost to nervous system disorders globally in 2021, an 18% increase from 1990. Stroke, which was previously counted as a heart disease, was by far the worst neurological condition analyzed. Okay. If it's not this new technology, the wonders of electromagnetic frequencies, and if it's not Big Pharma putting on, the FDA, Big Pharma, they're essentially the same, putting onto the market very dangerous medications, especially those psychiatric medications, that cause stroke. You're not going to hear mainstream media ever talking about that. It could be that new, not in decades past, but that new product causing all of this. But we're going to say it's due to the aging population. Yeah. So stroke, number 1, followed by a form of brain damage called neonatal encephalopathy, migraine, dementia, including Alzheimer's disease, nerve damage from diabetes, meningitis, epilepsy, cognitive impairment from COVID-19. It's missing a word after COVID-19. You know that word. 7 letters. I hope I got that right. 7 letters. Starts with a... You want to play charades one night? Massive number of healthy years lost from these conditions. And several can kill children under 5. Oh boy. Well, thank God for Viagra. Thank God for Viagra. Can women take it? Because it's good for your brain. Whoa. Whoa. So, I'll play this. It's only 1 minute and 27 seconds.
So now we have not just maniacs in the Pentagon, but a bunch of Dr. Strangeloves? Pretty weird stuff. But scientists have been experimenting with radio frequencies on animals' brains for decades. And the military has followed it all very closely. Back in the 60s, the Soviets began zapping the American embassy in Moscow with a low-frequency beam. One theory is that they were trying to mess with people's central nervous systems. And one report did say the diplomats got depressed a lot. And hey, just think of all the nifty applications against the enemy. Why blow people up when you can drive them crazy?
From documents dating back into the early 80s, we see that the military had discussed the possibilities of mind control through radio frequency energy. The possibility is there. The military has studied it.
A 1982 Air Force report called radio frequency energy a major new research initiative and said that RF can, quote, disrupt normal purposeful behavior. A 1987 military report called for more research on RF energy as a non-lethal weapon, while pointing out that most of the existing technology is classified. In 1993, there was a big conference at Johns Hopkins University. The entire conference was classified. The agenda wasn't, and weapons using extremely low radio frequencies, or ELFs, were listed as a very attractive option.
A very attractive option. Very attractive. And this. Yeah, coffee. They're going to come after coffee. I hope you're all prepped up. And if you're not, I hope you've accepted that, well, you're going to be dragging your little hiney through life when they finally make coffee inaccessible.
Our coffee before the session, and you raised the coffee example. I'd love just to give you the chance to expand on that.
Basically, the coffee that we all drink emits between 15 and 20 tons of CO2 per ton of coffee. So we should all know that this is, every time we drink coffee, we are basically putting CO2 into the atmosphere. One of the reasons is because most of the coffee plantation, or most of the coffee is produced through monoculture, and monoculture is also affected by climate change. The quality of these nature assets is deteriorating quite rapidly.
Oh boy. I need coffee. Yeah. Me too. Oh boy, me too. You're coming here? Are you coming? Do you think I'm stocked up? Have you not noticed that I've been here, there, and everywhere? And you just... I used to be. No longer. But I will share whatever I have with you. You can bet your bottom dollar. You show up, front door, come on in. I'm sure the subscriber will be absolutely fine, especially since you're both from the same place. Philadelphia. Oh no, you grew up in Delaware. Sorry. Mama Rages. Thank you for that little drop in my email before going on to the live. It was lovely. Thank you so much, Mama Rages. I'll get to it in a second. But yeah, oh, that climate change. Coffee. The CO2 emitted from making coffee, oh, get rid of it. Brutal heat wave packs Rio de Janeiro's beaches. And they're saying it is brutal. Brutal. See? Brutal. Brutal heat wave. Sent droves of people to the beach looking for a way to cool off. Well, you know what? It is kind of what we did when it got too hot. I don't think the droves going to the beach is, the measure of climate change, but, oh, I guess it is. I guess it is. The United Nations sounds red alert as world smashes heat records in 2023. Here we go again. I wish I didn't forget lyrics of songs because I would just start singing. Every major global climate record was broken last year. Of particular concern, ocean heat, shrinking sea ice. The World Meteorological Organization community is sounding the red alert to the world. Climate change, driven by the burning of fossil fuels, coupled with the emergence of the natural El Nino climate pattern, pushed the world into record territory in 2023, and scientists have warned that 2024 could be even worse, with El Nino fueling temperatures in the first few months of the year. So, hope you're all ready for weather disasters brought about by the weather terrorist. Climate change is a lie. I hope you're all ready for all of the censorship that will be coming about as they push and create more weather events, and we will all be shut down, just like we were all shut down during the pandemic. Boom. Get rid of that channel. Get rid of this channel. They're going to do it with climate change. And here, all of you trolls and people who trust our government, Fox News reports on chemtrails. But you know what a lot of people will do? Oh, it's Fox News. Those on the left, it's Fox News. And won't listen. And I really hate to admit this, but it's true. I was one of those Democrats. Oh, it's Fox News. Fortunately, doing a lot of work on myself, I have gained an open mind. Far more open than ever before. I don't care about who is posting it. I care about the truth. But that requires people to do an awful lot of research on their own. Get a basic understanding of all of the agendas that are purposeful, and then you don't care whether it's Fox News or ABC or whomever it is. You care about the truth. So if you have a basic understanding, and then maybe you'll delve a little bit deeper, then you can discern better who is speaking the truth and who is not.
They involve blocking sunlight. The White House posting research claiming, quote, solar radiation modification would enable better informed decisions about the potential risk and benefits of SRM as a component of climate policy, alongside the foundational elements of greenhouse gas emissions mitigation. Our next guest warns this is simply government's way to control your weather. Mark Morano, publisher of ClimateDepot.com, and he joins us now. Okay, Mark, my take this morning was maybe this is one of those or else, get on board with everything else or we're going to block the sun. But I guess it's a little bit more, reality than that. Tell us about it.
Well, this is actually Bill Gates funding this as well through Harvard University. This is retro 1970s. In the 1970s, they believed that our fossil fuels were creating aerosols, blocking the sun, creating man-made global cooling. So they came up with the same kind of geoengineering solutions back then. They wanted to put black soot on the Arctic to melt it. There was one proposal to use nuclear energy to help loosen the Arctic ice caps because they thought they were growing too much. And John Holdren, back in the Obama administration, also supported this kind of geoengineering, if you will, of the climate. This is radical, risky, unproven, unknown effects, but they're doing it as a sort of lever over us to say now in the Biden administration, kind of like, yeah, we know this is dangerous, we don't know the effects, but darn it, people aren't buying electric cars fast enough, or they're not embracing Green New Deal policies, so we have to risk our entire planet with this insane kind of research. It's basically weather modification. China's been doing it for years. It's another form of what the U.S. government has even been doing. The ABC News meteorologists bragged about the cloud seeding they're doing to increase rain or snow and storms. They will control the...
See, even Fox News has difficulty with their audio. Very little truth nuggets these days. It's interesting because I find more truth nuggets these days. And don't they have to expose the truth and then leave it up to the populace of whether or not they're going to consent or fight it or do something? But I do find that a lot of people are talking more truth, but it's not having any kind of influence on the masses. That's unfortunate. Very unfortunate. So, Tennessee banned geoengineering. This is huge. Today, the Tennessee State Senate passed a bill banning the spraying of chemicals in the skies. The law bans intentional injection, release, or dispersion by any means of chemicals, chemical compounds, substances, or apparatus within the border of the state that has the express purpose of affecting temperature, weather, or intensity of the sunlight. I'll post the link. Too little, too late. They're not going to stop what they're doing, but I think it's good and you should circulate it because it'll crack open the door for people who just think it's a conspiracy theory. So why are states banning geoengineering? And they're not going to be able to ban it. It's still going to go on. You think these planes are just going to stop at the Tennessee border? You think those weather terrorists who are putting in the coordinates in the supercomputers are just, oh, we can't, Tennessee banned us, so those nanobots can't activate in Tennessee? Really? No. Doesn't work like that. We're too far into the evil. This is a saying, they got us by the balls. I don't know who said it, but I know that a lot of people repeat it. Farmers, listen to this, man.
Last year in the United States, we lost over 500,000 farms. We lost over 125 million acres of farmland. There's never been a time that the local rancher or producer needs your help. Buy American, buy local.
And I can tell by that man's affect that he's not happy. Just last year, over 500,000 farms went down just last year. Is it really? Did he say that just last year?
Last year in the United States, we lost over 500,000 farms.
That's what he said. Now, I reported there was a news article about the farms. I didn't know it was in 1 year. I may have even said that, and I'm just not, not remembering. 1 year. You see what they're doing? It's only going to be Bill Gates and his little crony friends who are going to be feeding you bugs and starving out the population. Buy American, buy local? Absolutely. Farmers, you need to unite and really start doing something like the Europeans have been doing. Shake things up. And obesity is now a disease of poverty, claims public health chief William Roberts, chief executive of the Royal Society of Public Health, said the change was terrifying. There is really a seismic change we haven't seen before, he told a public health conference. Wow, we are at the point in history where obesity is a marker of poverty now, not a marker of wealth. For many years, being obese was because you had money and could afford to eat. This is the dribble that you get from mainstream media journalism. This is it. The wealthy were fat because they could afford to eat. The poor were skinny because they couldn't afford to eat. Now the poor are fat, and I guess the wealthy are not. Now we know. What's the reason for this? Is it if you're poor and don't have much money, you're not buying much food? What's the food like? Well, they do mention the junk food that people that are kind of all of these junk food places that inhabit poor areas. And people can't afford the healthy foods. Now, this is in Britain. I don't know. I'm going to have to ask my fellow, not that I'm British, but my fellow human beings who inhabit Britain. Do you have a lot of GMO foods? I don't think your food supply has been thoroughly poisoned like ours. GMO causes obesity. There's an awful lot of medications put on the market that cause obesity. There's a lot of things that cause obesity. So, and GMOs also cause the stomach. It's not like a fat that you get well distributed throughout your body. The stomach protrudes with GMOs. So we have an awful lot, have you noticed? Awful lot of people with huge stomachs now. That's the GMO foods. Are you so sure? Tinfoil? I know you're being sarcastic. So, yeah. Now the obese are going to be looked at as poor. But listen to your mainstream media. They'll develop the standards for you. They'll develop the definitions for you. They'll tell you how to think. No matter how improperly, most people will believe this. Okay, Mama Rages. You can thank Mama Rages for this. Human hair. It's a common ingredient in processed foods. Sometimes you are, quite literally, what you eat. Human hair has been on our menus for quite some time. although few of us knew it, and you certainly won't see it listed on ingredients labels. Religious groups urge caution. Intrigued? Share this article. I'll share it with you because I literally received it just before going live, so I haven't read it. I think I'll keep it open to read. Yeah, human hair. Okay. Yum yum. Sounds good, huh? It's a good source of amino acid. Don't expect to see it on the ingredients list. It's sourced straight from barbers. Oh God. Oh my God. It's still kosher. It's still kosher. But the halal authorities urge caution. Oh my God. Well, I don't eat processed foods, so. But you can't think that, like, the most disgusting ingredients are not in our food now. Processed foods. Whew. Eat up. Enjoy your dinners. So, squatters. A woman arrested. Woman who owns the home. Arrested in Flushing, Queens. She had a standoff with a squatter in her $1 million family residence in Queens, New York. Distressing scene unfolded at a $1 million home in Flushing, Queens. You know what? Instead of reading it, I am going to play the video.
Law, yeah, there's laws. You shouldn't be trying to steal my house. Yes, you are.
How about that? A squatter standoff. A property owner confronts a group of people she says moved into her $1 million home in Queens, and our cameras were rolling as dozens of officers showed up.
Several people were taken away in handcuffs, and one of those arrested may surprise you.
Investigative reporter Dan Krauth joins us now with more on what happened. Tell us, Dan.
Well, this is a very big growing problem. I received dozens of tips from viewers about this in just the past week. I went to do what I thought was going to be a routine interview. Instead, we capture what police and property owners are dealing with on a daily basis.
I have video of you.
Who are these people?
Figure out the situation.
Yeah, but they're in my house, man.
Relax.
No.
To understand how this day ended,
We need the police right away.
with multiple 911 calls and arrests, we have to start at the beginning.
Adele, the hardest question is, how do you say your name?
We met Adele Andaloro outside the home her parents left her in Flushing, Queens. She's in the process of selling it.
No, he locked it.
But she's been locked out. She claims squatters moved in on February 6th and refused to leave.
What's it like being here knowing you can't go inside of your own home?
It's enraging. It really is.
In New York, squatters have rights after 30 days.
By the time that someone does their investigation and they do their work and their job, we'll be well over the 30 days, and this man will have stolen my home. And now she's back.
Just after wrapping up our interview, a woman showed up.
What are you doing in the house? Are you renting this house? Why are you here?
She unlocked the front door, saw our cameras, and took off.
It's open. Let's go in the house. It's open.
Adele and her daughter, with the property deed in hand, went inside.
This is my furniture. These are my curtains.
She didn't just find her belongings inside.
There's a man sleeping right there. Get out of my house.
She found two men.
How long have you lived here?
I moved in about 2 days ago.
They've called the police on me, and I've called the locksmiths. I didn't come in illegally. The door was open.
Police started interviewing neighbors and looking for documents.
Do you have something that shows that you've been here for more than 30 days?
They took the man who told me he had been renting for 2 days out in handcuffs.
They got one out.
And escorted the other guy off the property.
Now you're afraid to come out.
I'm not coming out. This house is empty. This is my home. My locksmith is on the corner waiting to change my locks. And that's not fair. It's not fair that I, as the homeowner, should be having to go through this.
How you doing?
Minutes later, a locksmith showed up. But police gave her a warning before they left.
I may end up in handcuffs today if this man shows up here and says that I have illegally evicted him. I said to them, let him take me to court the way I've been told to take him to court. But today, I'm not leaving my house.
Less than 10 minutes after police left and the locks were changed,
That's not going on.
the man who claims to be the one actually leasing the house shows up.
Call the police again.
With the other guy, police took off the property.
Do you see this? This guy just literally broke down my door, broke through myself and my daughter to get in here. This guy just forced himself into my house.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did.
No, he did
And
not.
so did you.
Ma'am.
You broke through the front door.
Officer.
The man called the police on her.
So why is it that I have to leave and he doesn't have to leave?
Because technically he can't be kicked out. You need to go to court.
They consider this a landlord-tenant issue. And by law, it has to be handled through the housing court, not with police.
If you own this house, you would not want her inside.
I don't own this.
Exactly,
Yes.
she does.
Yes, but then once again, you should know how the law works.
I do know how it works.
There's rules to the as you got to go to court and send me to civil court.
He says he signed a lease in October, but wouldn't tell us with who.
I got proof longer than that.
Show us the proof.
But who are you for me to show? I showed it to cops.
Dan with Channel 7 News. If you don't want to show it, you don't want to show it.
Proof. Come here, brother. I like that.
I would like to see it.
He didn't show me a lease.
This is a bill.
A bill for work he says he had done to the house. He didn't show police a lease either.
The police department doesn't have the lease?
No.
He's got no documentation.
Just bills.
So Adele, you're getting arrested right now?
I'm being arrested
For what?
For being in
for being in my own home.
And where's your lease?
She's fighting the house. It's not her house anymore.
My deed
That's
is
what I was
current
told
and
already.
legal.
Arrested for unlawful eviction. She changed the locks on a man who claims he lives there.
So how does this all end then? When do you leave?
The way it ends is either she pays me my money that I put into the house, pay me the money, and I'll leave, or send me to court, and we deal with the judge in court. It's that simple.
Okay, man, what the F is going on? These squatters. You know, in New York, so, in New York City, squatters must occupy a property continuously for at least 10 years to claim adverse possession. However, there is a unique 30-day rule that allows squatters to claim legal residency in a property after living there for just 30 days. So, if you go on vacation and, you know, this woman inherited the home, so she wasn't living there, the last parent that died, okay, she gets the home. So if you're not on top of things immediately, and you secure that home somehow, what if you're living in another state? You know, this is, all right, I don't like when the law doesn't work anymore. I really have a hard time when the law doesn't work and people can break into your home, and if you don't know that they're there, if they're there for 30 days, then you got to take them to court. Then you have to go through the eviction process, and it could take forever. Why are homeowners being put through this? This is so flippin' insane. So, yeah, after 30 days, a squatter in New York can be considered a legal tenant. They bust into their home, but if they, lucky, you're there for 30 days, boom, you're a legal tenant. Can we not see what is so very, very radically wrong with this? To evict a squatter in New York, property owners must serve a formal notice, file an eviction lawsuit. If the squatters don't vacate, seek law enforcement assistance for removal if necessary following the specific notice period requirements based on the situation. Squatters in New York City can be evicted by the property owner at any time, but the eviction process can be lengthy and expensive. And no one should have to ever go through this. And these squatters, man, wow, you're a shithead. Mister, you are a shithead. Just a horrible human being. And Washington. Washington State. A squatter was granted a restraining order against the landlord, the property owner, by a judge in Washington State. Oh my God. Washington judge has granted a restraining order filed by a tenant against his landlord after the property owner organized a protest outside the rental home to call attention to the situation thanks to the failed COVID-era policies, leaving small and mom and pop landlords out tens of thousands of dollars in back rent and no action to remedy the situation being taken by the Democratic politicians that enacted them. There is now concern that residents may begin taking matters into their own hands, and damn it, when you leave them with no recourse, that's what they will do. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, understand this. You leave your home, you go on vacation for a while, you come home, a squatter's in your home, voila, you've got a big problem. It could happen to anyone. It's happening to the rich, it's happening to the middle class, it's happening all over our country. So everybody has to get involved and get your state to get rid of these squatter rights laws. Unbelievable.
Open the door now.
I mean, you've got angry neighbors here.
If you do not leave, I will call the police for the trespassing.
Mr. Kim, just want your side of the story. What are your thoughts on the protesters?
Get out, you motherfucker. Stop knocking on the door.
The police are here.
It's not your house. Stop knocking on the door.
It's not your house either. Do you want to comment on the protest?
Get out, you motherfucker.
I already visited from the backyard.
Guys, back up. Off the property, man. No, we're not doing that.
Well, it's our property. Off the property, man. We're not doing that.
It's like the officer.
Sir, I'm asking you a question.
Fair enough.
To get off. Like,
this guy brought his.
Video on our property.
I need you off the property, okay? All I'm trying to do is keep the peace. Okay, I'm just trying to keep the peace, man. Okay, that's all I'm trying to do.
It's a messed up system, man.
Yeah, system is broken.
My friend's house, system. And I can't even come and visit my friend's house.
Police is protecting the poor people who are doing injustice, not paying rent.
This is wrong, man.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, where's my tax money going to? This is getting paid off of the tax money. I want to know that. No,
thank you for your service, but we don't thank you for standing with wrong people. I'm not standing with anybody. I'm just saying what's right because you don't know the facts.
Well, what kind of stick?
Are being used for this kind of.
What kind of stick is it? What sport is this?
This is gray, man. Field hockey.
This is a field hockey.
Yeah.
What, you brought it here just to play, or just?
Well, you know, you never know.
You never know.
Depends what kind of game you're playing today.
Oh my goodness! Serial squatter. What a mess.
Conmen, okay? Means get out conmen in Korean. 나가라 사기꾼. Say it with me. Let's practice 3 times. 나가라 사기꾼. 나가라 사기꾼. 나가라 사기꾼. Let's do it all at once. 사기꾼. 나가라 사기꾼. 나가라 사기꾼. 나가라 사기꾼. Get out conmen. Get out conmen.
How is the Korean community interpreting what's happening here?
They are not aware of this. They're usually landlords or hardworking business people. They would never imagine a Korean descendant taking advantage of this poor, broken system like this and embarrass not only his family, but entire community. So I was chanting, if you're not going to pay, you shouldn't stay there. And I also called them out as a con man. 사기꾼. 사기꾼 means con man in Korean. What I'm going to do is I'm going to provide high-resolution picture of them and ask all the Korean medias to post this on their newsletter and online website and actually have him get famous. Every restaurant he goes, every Korean restaurant he goes, every Korean market he goes, so everybody recognizes him. That way, he's not only just embarrassed to move out of that place, but move out of the state once and for all.
He's not welcome in Washington anymore?
He shouldn't be.
Oh boy, are we so screwed. Oh man. U.S. crime rate is still dropping. Still dropping. FBI data shows. Why does the public think it's going up? There is definitely more disorder in cities than there was 5 years ago. People confuse disorder and crime. Oh, it's the disorder. God, Americans are just so stupid. They don't get the difference between disorder and crime. Okay. How do we get through to our fellow Americans? When the government comes out with numbers, they lie. The numbers are fraudulent. The numbers work for their agenda. The numbers work to confuse, but the crime is definitely going up. But it's still dropping, because it's been dropping for so long. Oh. Jacksonville Beach shootings. St. Patrick's Day shootings put Jacksonville Beach in national spotlight.
Throwing Jacksonville Beach into the national spotlight. It comes as other Florida beaches made headlines for cracking down on spring break chaos. News4Jax reporter Marilyn Parker spoke with a criminologist about how police prepared for a big crowd.
It's typical for Florida to be on the map for spring break.
We welcome people to come and have a good time. What we don't welcome is criminal activity.
Earlier this month, Governor Ron DeSantis increased law enforcement personnel and assets across the state to places like Miami Beach, Daytona Beach, and Panama City Beach, but not Jacksonville Beach, where Sunday night people ran away from what sounded like gunshots in the background.
See, when they're running, that's the disorder. Okay? Don't confuse this disorder as related to the criminal activity that is taking place. Okay? Got it? No crime, just disorder. Phew. Illegal immigrant can carry guns. Federal judge says. An illegal immigrant was wrongly banned from possessing guns, according to a recent ruling. Federal law. U.S. District Judge Sharon Johnson Coleman rejected 2 motions to dismiss, but the third motion, based on a 2022 U.S. Supreme Court ruling, triggered the dismissal of the case. The non-citizen possession statute violates the Second Amendment. Woo! Judge Coleman was appointed under Barack Obama. Thus, the court grants this illegal immigrant their motion to dismiss. I kind of thought that the Constitution, constitutional rights, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, only applied to American citizens. Now we're living in a whole new world. Illegal immigrants can carry guns. Wow. This is pretty wild, huh? Wow, 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 wow. Massachusetts to spend an additional $245 million for shelters as migrant crisis worsens. We be schmucks. Neighbors say undocumented immigrants arrested after woman was sexually battered.
Around Lake Osborne, bikers
Right here, babe.
and neighbors picking up trash like Alyssa Suarez says it's usually as calm as the lake.
So it's a really quiet neighborhood. It's very peaceful.
She's one of many surprised after the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office arrested these 3 men. Spokesperson for the Sheriff's Office says all 3 are undocumented immigrants from Guatemala. They face various charges, but the Sheriff's Office says they forced a woman into a car, then committed sexual battery on her at 2 different locations before the woman escaped, then flagged a passerby nearby for help.
Sounds awful, and I hope she's okay, and sounds scary. It's definitely not the norm here.
I didn't hear anything. No sirens, no screams, no nothing.
Lauren Thiessen says she never worries about her kids playing outside. She says she's now concerned.
I have children. I have a younger daughter myself, by myself, going for walks. It's just crazy.
Court records show one of the men, Andre Felipe Morales, was cited in January for not having a driver's license. The citation was noel proce, meaning the state attorney abandoned the charges. Records show the state agreed to abandon prosecution if the defendant provided or showed proof of paying $100 and obtaining a driver's license. We reached out to the state attorney's office past 9 p.m. tonight about how it's possible for him to obtain a driver's license if he's undocumented, like the sheriff's office says. Spokesperson told us he'd help us when the office reopens in the morning and he can get a good look at the full case file. For now, people continue to walk and bike around Lake Osborne.
Yeah, it's actually really, really crazy.
As the unexpected came to their quiet spot on the lake. There's a campground and a park across the lake. We spoke with people there. They say they're not concerned with their safety after the arrest. Near Lake Worth, Ethan Stein, WPTV News.
Unbelievable what we're living. In blow to Biden, Supreme Court allows Texas to start arresting and deporting illegal aliens. Every state should do it, right? Texas doesn't get special privileges. Every state should do this. But it's only up to the people to push their state governor and legislature and politicians and law enforcement to do it. Report criticizes catastrophic errors of COVID lockdowns, but warns of repeat. Group of medical and policy experts released a report called COVID Lessons Learned, which assesses the government's response to the pandemic. According to the report, that response included a few notable successes, along with a litany of failures that have taken a severe toll on the population. Many governments across the globe acted in lockstep to pursue authoritative policies in response to the disease, locking down populations, closing schools, shuttering businesses, sealing borders, banning gatherings, and enforcing various mask and other mandates. What were initially imposed as short-term mandates and emergency powers given to presidents, ministers, governors, health officials soon became extended into a longer-term expansion of official power. Even though the initial point of temporary lockdowns was to slow the spread, which meant to allow hospitals to function without being overwhelmed, instead it rapidly turned into stopping all cases at all costs. Granting public health agencies extraordinary powers was a major error. You think? Well, they still have those powers. They still have them. It, in effect, granted these agencies a license to deceive the public. The authors argue that authoritative measures were largely ineffective in fighting the virus, but often proved highly detrimental to public health. My worry, this is the authors of the report. My worry is that if we have another pandemic or another virus, I think that Washington is still going to try to do these failed policies. Well, if Americans would unite and recognize them as failed policies, if they try to do it again, don't consent. We're not here to say this guy got it wrong or that. Why not hold people accountable? We're here to say we should learn the lessons from these very, very severe mistakes that will have cost for not just years, but decades to come. I guarantee you they will try to do this again. And what's really troubling me is that the people who made these mistakes still have not really conceded that they were wrong. Unfortunately, the public health establishment is the authoritarian model of the state. Their entire edifice is one in which the state, not the individual, should reign supreme. It's going to be repeated because the American people don't want to know a whole lot of what has gone on and what is still going on, and a whole lot are children. No matter how many wrinkles they've got, children, they'll listen to mommy and daddy. Dictator. Which means that we all get swept into the shit, because there'll be more people who will obey than disobey. And yeah, final warning, get your cash out of the smaller regional banks now.
Marino, Tuesday, March 19, 2024. This is my pre-market report. People, I want to start off with this first, okay? Look at this headline. This is CNBC. Can you read that? Banks are in limbo without a crucial lifeline. Here is where the cracks may occur next. You see, this gets to me, and I'll tell you why. People rely, believe it or not, on these financial channels to stay ahead of what's happening. This is so far behind the curve. It is ridiculous. You and I, again, we called this out way over a year ago, how this was going to unfold with the smaller and regional banks. It's incredible. You have no idea how much this bothers me. It's just, look, these propaganda ministries, CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox Business, they want you behind the curve. They cannot allow you to know what's unfolding. So let's talk about this. So we understand that earlier this month, the Federal Reserve closed their emergency lending facility to the banks. Well, let me bring you up to speed on that. First of all, what is going on here is what you and I have outlined from over a year ago. What we're witnessing is a massive consolidation of the system. They have to consolidate power in order to allow their new system to function. This has all been laid out, thought out years and years ago, but now it's all coming together. So what we're about to see here, and we've been seeing this already with the issues with the smaller and regional banks closing down. Let me tell you something else. One of my own family members who didn't believe me when I was telling everybody, get your cash out of these institutions, take your cash out, only leave in there what you need to. In fact, I was telling people to get out of these smaller and regional institutions altogether and put their cash into like a credit union or one of the larger institutions, which are going to be more powerful than you can possibly believe. Well, one of my family members didn't believe me, and now they are stuck on the wrong side of this with no access to their cash until July. Well, I think that's kind of, look, sometimes people need a wake-up call. Look, there are some people that are just not going to get it. They don't see what's happening despite it going on right in front of their faces. But that's okay. That's just the way it's going to play out. But again, if you have not yet got your cash out of these smaller institutions here, this is where the cracks are. It's not just cracking, it's coming apart by design. Again, let me calm down a minute here because I get a little uppity once in a while here. What we're witnessing here is exactly what you and I have said would happen. a consolidation of the system. These smaller banks here, sure, some of these institutions are going down, hundreds of them, hundreds of these smaller and regional institutions are deliberately being taken down to consolidate the system into fewer and fewer major banks. But again,
the link is in the chat to hear more. But having been a subscriber of Gregory Mannarino's for many years, and noticing the change in his titles, just the titles themselves, and the change, sorry, sweetie, the change has come about just over the last couple of months. But now it seems every title is final warning, get your money out of the banks. And yes, the big banks are going to gobble up all of the smaller banks. And wow, do you think the big banks will oblige the government to go digital? This is the road to no more cash, everything digital, and it's coming fast. Here's another video that he posted today. Hundreds of banks are going to fail. Which ones are they? And Neil McCoy Ward. These 10 banks could be the next to fail. Time is running out. I will post the link to Neil's video. So, what you gonna do when the screw comes for you? And these digital banks, Onyx Private in Miami, tells customers it's closing their accounts. So, people think that they're going to be saved by Bitcoin. Really? When Bitcoin came about, I saw it as, oh, get people used to digital, and then voila, it will be taken over by federal central banks. Almost every government intervention in response to COVID was wrong. Oh, so this is the report. I'll post it, and you can circulate it to those that you think will obey. Again, dragging all of us down with them. Actor and drag star Shangri-La, accused of multiple sexual assaults. So isn't it interesting that an awful lot of these transgenders, social media influencers, those who have made it big, seem to be getting arrested for child sexual assaults, not saying, and please do not lump all transgenders into one category, or gay and lesbians into one category. No, big difference between gay, bisexual, lesbian, transgender community of the past and the new one that is agenda driven. Big difference. So it's interesting, isn't it? I find it interesting. But here, this video exposes the madness and lies of trans health professionals. Joanna Olson Kennedy, who runs the biggest gender clinic in the world at the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, says an 18-month-old toddler knew they were transgender. Do you think she's making a lot of money? I bet she is. Destroying children is what she's doing.
The number of transgender people probably hasn't changed, but young people are finding that it's safer to be who they are.
The youngest that I've ever heard somebody express their gender identity being different than their assigned gender is 18 months old.
From the age of about 2, they're brought in, and some are encouraged to do a social transition.
At just 11 years old, she is the brave and beautiful new face of a child born in the wrong body.
The boy wants to play with dolls. Given the media, instead of just saying, wow, okay, you're just playing around, or it's not a big deal, or maybe you're gay, they rush them to the gender clinics.
We have the largest trans youth clinic in the world.
They are expressing their identities more openly and presenting for medical care.
Puberty blockers at age 12, however, where you're given a chance to get that time that you need to see if it is a real phenomenon, yes, that makes a lot of sense.
She's one of the first to have undergone complete pubertal suppression.
Being able to block that process with these medications is extremely beneficial.
There are differences associated with puberty blockers, including less bone density. One study showed reduced spatial memory.
I got my first blocker and testosterone shots at 13 years old.
This does not alleviate symptoms of gender dysphoria, does not improve psychological functioning in these children.
The high suicide rates amongst trans-identified adolescents, and they basically said, would you rather have a dead daughter or a live son?
Had you expressed any suicidal ideation to anyone?
No, and it was at 15 that I went under the knife to get my mastectomy.
The boys can have their genital surgeries from about 16, and there's some hint that it might even be 15.
Hello, knock, knock.
Hello. What's up?
How we doing? How's my wonderful family?
Good to see you.
There are, I think, more than 50 in the United States pediatric gender clinics funded by multimillionaires who may themselves be transgender or are transgender.
Jazz has had a very difficult surgical course. She had a very incredible first surgery. It went seemingly very well, but there were problems.
Why are you cutting there?
Right here?
Yeah, why?
Because it's scar, Jess. I don't like it.
Yeah, but there's scar everywhere. If you don't have to cut this, why would you cut
This is what the WPATH standards of care are all about. They're consensus and science-based guidelines. It turned out tougher than any of us imagined.
lack of growth of the skin and other tissues, which we rely on as surgeons to do this operation. And we don't have the experience of having said we've done 50 of these.
I have 100% of people who've had genital surgery have had post-operative depression.
I told my mom. I kind of just broke down crying to her one night about how this was the biggest mistake of my life.
Something that I always talk about and say, look, this is a big surgery.
We're seeing certainly very high levels of satisfaction.
I mean, my breasts are gone permanently. I have no idea about whether I'll be able to have kids.
It's pretty disconcerting in certain ways. It's like, whoa, this is what occurs while Jazz is having her surgery and the doctors sometimes don't see eye to eye.
We could just advance it to there.
Jess, let me go.
But it doesn't make any sense. Why do you need to cut that?
Because this is a disfiguring scar.
How do you know it's not a disfiguring scar? That's just a sulcus. These are the two labia. I mean, you may be right, but we don't know.
Jess,
why don't we just open this up and then see what this looks like?
Gets input from around the world with available science that provides input and consensus. Let me go.
I will say that I feel like things should happen in a more methodical way.
This needs to advance more because we're off-center.
This has to come down here.
I mean, this is off-center. See, this is tilted. So that in order to get this midline, we need to bring that down more, and that will centralize this.
It is safe, it is effective, and it's based on science.
So last time the major complication was dehiscence. The stitches started coming apart. How likely do you think that's going to happen again?
It's always possible. I have optimism that it won't need another surgery.
There have been many cases where it hasn't gone well.
Improved self-esteem, reduced suicidality.
18 times more than the general population committed suicide.
No one knows why thousands of children like Jazz are transgender.
It's not based on any scientific evidence, it's not research.
There are only theories.
Everybody is expected to go along with it. And because nobody wants to be a bigot, they want to get the boys while they're still in school, because they'll probably still be living at home. The parents can help with the extensive aftercare that takes months, and it's extremely intensive, and lots can go wrong.
I'm happy. I have a good sense of what we need to do.
Jazz is fortunate. Her parents and 3 siblings accept her, and as much as they can, keep her safe.
I might never experience an orgasm.
All of these adults who are pushing this on these children, they are so disgustingly, they are criminals. They should be locked up. They should be isolated from society. Oh, isolated from children, for sure. Yeah, something's very wrong with our society when you have so many adults going along with this. If a child says, I don't feel like I'm in the right body, accept them. Don't put them on very dangerous hormonal treatment. Don't subject them to permanent surgeries. Just tell them, when you're an adult, if you still want to do this, make that decision when you're an adult. Easy peasy. Oh my God, it's really... Oh, Jazz had a horror story. You're absolutely right. I don't even have a word for these adults. They're so sick and deranged, it's beyond belief. The intermittent fasting trend may pose risks to your heart. They'll come up with anything but that new product. Intermittent fasting. Don't do something good for yourself. Listen to mainstream media. Record numbers of wealthy Americans are looking for ways to live overseas. Yeah, boy, I have to tell you, if I had a passport and I had the money, I'd be real close to someone in particular in Britain. I'll put the link in. I can't watch this. Dogs dumped. I feel like that dog. I feel like dumped. And it has a happy ending though. Now, I was sent this, and I hope it plays. Let's see if it's going to play for me.
They really love their graphene, don't they? They really love their owls, too. You think there's something to all that?
And just in case you didn't hear him in the beginning, he said, they really love their graphene. And they really love their owls, too.
God bless.
Been able to make graphene on many different substrates. Previously, we could only make graphene on materials that were like polyimide, a particular type of polymer. But now what we found is by tuning the laser a little bit differently and defocusing the laser, which first carbonizes the material, and then we take the carbonized material and convert it into graphene. We can do it even on foods, like this is a potato, a piece of bread, and so you can convert the carbohydrates that are within bread to graphene, or we can do it on a coconut, and so it can conduct electricity. So what we can do now is we can make electronics embedded within fabrics and make electronics embedded within wood. Why would one want edible electronics? If there's, say, an RFID tag written onto this potato, where has it been? How long has it been stored? What's its country of origin and its city of origin? And what path did it go to get to your table? All that can be embedded not on a separate tag that's placed on the food, but directly on the food itself.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker.
How much graphene do we all have inside of ourselves, creating electricity and being tracked and yeah. A subscriber sent me this, and yes, I will play it. No audio. A little help from a friend. You got it. You got it, little one. You got it. And he comes back to say thank you. Yay. Machine and nature having a moment. So, the President of Colombia, Germany, France, and the UK, and the US all support the genocide in Gaza because they want to teach a lesson to all of humanity. They are telling us, look at our military power. What happens to Palestine can happen to any of you if you dare to make changes without our permission.
No es la vieja dinámica del conflicto palestina-israelí lo que hoy se muestra, sino además, y por eso Alemania apoya el genocidio y Francia y la Unión Europea y el Reino Unido y sobre todo los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica en su versión demócrata apoyan tirar bombas sobre la gente porque están haciendo una demostración sobre la humanidad toda. Ni más ni menos nos están diciendo, miren nuestro poder militar. Lo que ocurre sobre Palestina puede ocurrir sobre cualquiera de ustedes si osan realizar los cambios sin su permiso. Y aquí está el primer peligro sobre América Latina y sobre el Caribe que tenemos que reconocer y sobre el cual tenemos que actuar. No es la vieja dinámica del conflicto.
How do you act on it? How do you act on two incredibly evil countries that they don't care who they kill, what harm they cause, they only care about their own agendas and essentially the stealing of resources. Oh, let's see. U.S. sends 1,000 troops and CIA-linked company to Gaza. Yes, it ain't just the Jews. It ain't just Israelis. Americans. Oh, man.
Let's talk about this floating dock, the floating pier that the Americans are building in Gaza, because I told you guys already 5 months ago, I produced the mini documentary. And I told you what Gaza is. What is this war about? It's about the Americans solidifying their control over the gas in the Mediterranean, along with Israel, and providing gas to Europe because they signed a deal with Europe, remember? They've cut Iran out of the game. They've cut Russia out of the game with the sanctions. And now they've controlled, they basically got rid of Beirut port in Lebanon. They got rid of Syria's infrastructure, and Gaza is now under their control. And it's also about countering China. Again, go watch the mini documentary because I can't condense it in one go. I just want to show you once again how shady this whole thing is, okay? And it just further confirms everything I've been telling you. This is from the BBC, okay? So look what they say here. You're going to love this. This is how the United States military plans to construct a pier and get food into Gaza, right? Because the United States military, you know, the ones that are supplying the bombs that are killing Palestinians, their first priority when they wake up in the morning is they say, how can we feed the Palestinians that we're killing, right? Because when you murder someone, you feed them at the same time. That makes total sense, right? So it says here that more than 1,000 American troops are expected to participate in the operation, although the Pentagon says there will be no boots on the ground. Wow. No boots on the ground. Yeah, they're going to levitate. I'm levitating.
We already have boots on the ground. Yeah. In Gaza.
What are they going to do? They're going to hover above the beach? What a joke. What an absolute joke. They think we're stupid or something? No boots. They already have boots on the ground. They have special forces, Delta Force, already fighting in Gaza. I've read an account from a medic who was kidnapped by Israelis, tortured by Israelis, and tortured by Americans in Gaza. What is this? No boots on the ground. I mean, I'm shocked. I'm just shocked. How can you say that there will be no boots on the ground? You should be saying there are already Americans fighting in Gaza. I don't mean in the IDF. I mean actual American troops in American uniforms fighting there, Delta Force. How does this not mention there? Scandalous. Let's continue. To help achieve that, the United States has partnered with a little-known private firm called Fogbo, which is run by who? You guessed it, former military and intelligence officials. So basically, an extension of the military itself, right? The goal is to deliver aid equivalent to 2 million meals a day to Gaza, where the United Nations has warned that famine is almost inevitable without urgent action. Yes, well, the goal is to deliver 2 million meals a day to Gaza. Yeah. Just like the goal was to defeat Hamas, right? Look how that's panning out. And also, who the hell are you to defeat Hamas? Not even in your own country. Next up, how will the U.S. set up the pier? U.S. Army vessels set sail on Saturday and Monday to take equipment to the Mediterranean. Again, I just want you to picture, if your geography is not doing too well, I'll pull up the map for you. And I'm sorry, I have to go I have to go on a rant here and on a tangent because of how infuriating this is. Okay? The United States is over here. The Mediterranean is there. Okay, what the hell? What kind of business does anyone in the United States have sailing to the fucking Mediterranean and going to Gaza? What business do they have? Who authorized this? Who gave you permission to do this? Who the fuck are you? Again, with this imperialist God complex. According to the Pentagon, the plan includes two main components which need to be assembled: a floating dock made up of steel segments and a 2-lane 548-meter causeway and pier. Okay, the causeway will be composed of interconnected 12-meter steel pieces linked together and attached to the shore. Don't worry if that sounds like gibberish to you. If you're not too familiar with construction, there's a graph, or rather a sketch down below, which I'll show you in a second. But it makes sense logistically and from an engineering standpoint. Very beautiful. I'm sure they spent a lot of time, sitting down and organizing and sketching up the J-lots, as they call them. Great. What does that have to do with Gaza? So they're going to have this causeway assembled at sea and driven into the beach, okay? So they put this thing together, and then it goes into the sand. Do you understand? I don't have anything with me on the table to picture that, but imagine this artificial thing. It's just driven into the sand, and then they establish a foothold, and it's literally a foothold into the beach. And then the funny thing is how they say allowing U.S. forces to avoid setting foot on Gaza, like again, as if we don't already have hundreds, if not thousands, of U.S. troops in Gaza already. The U.S. is supporting its ally, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we know who the terrorists are here. So as I said, they call them J-lots, and this is how it's going to work. Now, this is, of course, the propaganda, right? You don't actually believe this. Please let me offer you the disclaimer and tell you that this is a bunch of rubbish. This entire article is rubbish. The only good information, the only viable information that they give us is Fogbo. But I haven't gotten yet to the exciting part, to the real info. Because guess who controls this firm that is helping the U.S. military? Okay, so Fogbo is led by Sam Mundy, a former lieutenant general in the Marine Corps, who previously commanded forces in the Middle East. Okay, so he's an invader. And we have Mick Mulroy, a former CIA paramilitary officer. Paramilitary officer, again, basically meaning he's an invader. All right, the CIA, in case you don't know this, they have their own paramilitary units that invade countries like they did in Afghanistan. And he was also Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East. So basically, we have a spook from the CIA and someone who's invaded the Middle East before with the Marine Corps, who run a private firm that is now going to be tasked with feeding people in Gaza. I mean, you really have to be a moron to believe this. You really got to be such a sucker and so naive to buy this crap, like as if their primary concern is to come and help and nourish the people of Gaza, who they are butchering. And then, of course, they tell you that essentially the Israelis will run outer security to prevent crowds of civilians reaching the beach. God forbid that Gazan civilians, go on their own fucking land. God forbid. And to make the area safe. All right, safe. Yes, I'm sure. The distribution will be the responsibility of local unarmed Palestinians. What does that mean? Who determines what is an unarmed local Palestinian? Because there's a whole lot of them that have already been massacred by the Israelis. And I haven't even begun to talk about the Flower Massacre 2.0 and 3.0, which some of you might have heard of, because Palestinians who are unarmed, who have done literally nothing, are being murdered by the Israelis, massacred, just for waiting for food. So when I see that, and I'm going to show you the images after this segment, which are really going to make you vomit because of how sick and brutal they are. I just don't understand. You're murdering Palestinians, you're dropping bombs on them, but you want to feed them. Palestinians who wait for food get killed, but you want to distribute food to Palestinians. How does any of this make sense? It doesn't make sense because it's rubbish. The real plan here, which I disclosed to you, is twofold. They want to seal the gas in Gaza, and they want to build a canal that is a rival to the Suez Canal. Now, that's not really going to help them because Yemen are at the bottom, making sure that you shall not pass. Now, the thing is, this pier, this floating dock, do you know it's going to take 2 months to build? So this beautiful ideal that they're trying to sell you, like, oh yeah, man, we're going to give Palestinians 2 million meals a day. Really? That's great. How do you distribute them? Because yeah, you've got 2.3 million Palestinians who are displaced. It's in a war. So even if hypothetically these were really, it was really Mother Teresa descending down onto Gaza with 2 million meals in her hands, how is she going to distribute them to all these people that are scattered in the strip? Where are the logistics involved in that? Is there a meeting point? If you go to the meeting point, do you get killed by an Israeli gunship or a helicopter? I mean, so many questions unanswered. But again, this takes 2 months. 2 months to build. And again, another tell of why this article is propaganda is because they keep mentioning, this is the third time they say no US troops will set foot in Gaza. So that's 3 times they're repeating this rubbish to you from the Pentagon. This is the tell. It's the...
I've already shown videos of US troops right on the border, Gaza. US troops. There was some, I don't know, general or whatever his designated office was, talking to IDF soldiers, but also American Israelis. You can't separate out America in this. And yes, we have boots on the ground. It's very upsetting. So, Erica, I think you need to go back and listen to that. Read the article and also listen to that news report on the squatter in Queens, because I believe that's what you're talking about. If he did work on the house and she didn't pay, she's getting what she deserves. They broke into the home. They didn't discuss any work that they were doing on the home. They're squatters taking over her house illegally. I don't give a shit, these squatter rights that they supposedly have. And if he did work on the house, she has to pay for it when she wasn't even consulted. I think you misunderstood the report on that. So yeah, okay. So I don't think that there's a war or conflict happening in the world where the U.S. is not involved. USA, USA, USA. Oh, number one, number one. Whew, whew, whew. Brazil's Bolsonaro indicted for suspected fraud on vaccine records. Wow. They sure are getting rid of all of the MAGA people. Not that Bolsonaro is a MAGA person, but anybody on the right. The world is shifting left. And I'm a lefty, so I'm okay with that. Man. Evidence of foreign nationals assessing Dominion voting machines leaked to public. I'll post the link. And we have not had fair elections in our country for an awful long time. I posted early on in my YouTube career, Dominion. First of all, it was owned by, I think, a company in Spain, and also how Dominion voting booths, wow, they can easily change those votes. And Dominion still is operating. So it doesn't matter what you say to Americans. It just goes on. You know? It just goes on. Now, I'm going to play this. It's only 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and that this guy has not been taken out yet because he's in the Vatican. He, what's his name? Oh, starts with a V. I think a lot of you know this guy. But he discloses the New World Order. All of the elites, the pedophiles, all of where we're going. And he's in the Vatican. This is the guy, as far as I'm concerned, who has been put out front to tell the world's people the truth. So that way they can escape any kind of karmic response to the evil that they commit. I guess that's the way these sick mother effers think. Oh, I did this. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Carol. Some people make, weird hand things when they're talking, and it doesn't mean that they're a part of the group. If I was a part of the group, I don't think I would have lived what I've been living. Listen to this guy. Read the captions, because it's easier to understand than listening to him.
A few weeks ago,
Well, that's interesting.
A few weeks ago, an important collaborator of Hillary Clinton, John Podesta, was arrested for pedophilia and child pornography. I'm referring to Slade Summer, a man with ties to the world of Broadway and cinema, who played a role in the effort to debunk the infamous Pizzagate affair. That is, the network, filthy complicity and horrendous crimes against minors that revolves around the international deep state. We have learned that certainly Jeffrey Epstein and most likely Ghislaine Maxwell were members of the Israeli Mossad. This makes us understand that the famous trips of many well-known people to Epstein Island were used to blackmail them by collecting evidence of their guilt in participating in heinous ritual crimes against minors. And if the heads of state and government officials of the Western world do not dare to breathe out a word of protest against the massacres of civilians in Gaza Strip, it is legitimate to assume that this attitude is due to the intensive dossier of videos inculpating them that are in possession of the Israeli intelligence services. The same thing must be happening with the preparation of the fake pandemic emergency, which was lavishly replicated in all the member states of the World Economic Forum and the United Nations, and also with the farce of the Ukrainian crisis. But this blackmail of the powerful of the world constituted the
unifying element of the globalist subversive project. We cannot help but think that the indispensable role... That's it. All right, well, he has spoken the truth, but that's what's important. But there's something up here, because I think he posts on social media, and he's high up in the Vatican, and you would think that those Jesuits would want to shut him up. No. So earlier I said, in response to somebody's comment, very little or a trickle of truth comes out or whatever. No, more and more truth is coming out. More and more truth is coming out. And that's what people need to hear. That's what people need to consider, for sure. So, an awful lot is going on. I sure hope that you guys are prepared to watch your own demise. Unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. I hate it. I wish for every one of you even those of you who I've gotten into it with, that you never, ever have to suffer the consequences of this evil. That you can be spared throughout your life. But it doesn't seem to be going that way. Hi, you. Sorry to say. So, it's a little early, but I am going to say thank you for showing up. Hope to see you tomorrow night. Be safe out there. Awareness, awareness, awareness. Hardwire that awareness of yourself and your surroundings. And be a force of good. Which means you've got to manifest that good. Which means you've got to get involved in your communities. Which means you've got to help those in your communities that are hurting. Which means that you got to pick up, you know, a little bit extra food, drop it off at a food pantry. Pick up extra pet food, drop it off at a shelter. Food pantries, shelters, they all need help. They all need help. And help is, well, we should all feel just that we would want to do it because we're part of humanity, and it's good for the soul, good for the heart, good for the mind. Good for establishing trust. And on that note, I say, yeah. Good night, good luck. Ciao, guys.